Before Canada was a full country, people used many kinds of money. They used British coins, they used American coins, they even used Spanish dollars. This was very confusing for everyone. When Canada became a country in 1867, it needed its own money. It needed its own system. This was a big step. It showed the world that Canada was growing up. It was a new nation, ready to stand on its own 2 feet. The government wanted to make trade easier for Canadians. Having one set of coins would help people buy and sell goods without confusion. This was the beginning of a truly Canadian currency. The very first Canadian pennies were made in 1858. This was even before Confederation. The province of Canada, which later became Ontario and Quebec, decided it needed a 1-cent coin. These first coins were very large. They were much bigger than the pennies we remember today. They were made of bronze and felt heavy in your hand. They were called large cents. These coins showed a picture of Queen Victoria on one side. She was the Queen of England at the time. This showed that Canada still had strong ties to Britain. The other side had a simple design of maple leaves wrapped in a vine. These large pennies were important for daily life. Imagine going to a general store in the 1860s. You might buy a loaf of bread or a small bag of sugar. The cost would be just a few cents. People needed these small coins for small purchases. Without them, making change was very difficult. Storekeepers would have to make deals or use tokens. The new Canadian penny made everything simpler. It helped the economy grow. It allowed for fair and easy transactions between neighbors and businesses. Everyone, from a farmer in a small village to a shop owner in a big city, could use this new Canadian coin. The creation of the Canadian penny was more than just about money. It was a symbol of national identity. It was a small round piece of Canada that people could hold in their hands. It represented a move away from relying on other countries' money. It was a declaration of economic independence. As the country grew, so did the need for its own coins. The penny was the smallest, but it was one of the most important. It was the foundation of the new Canadian monetary system. It was a piece of history that would be part of Canadian life for over 150 years, a silent witness to the nation's journey. The Canadian penny did not always look the same. Its design changed many times over the years. When the first small pennies were made in 1920, they featured King George V. As new kings and a queen came to the throne, the penny's portrait changed too. We saw King George VI and then his daughter, Queen Elizabeth II. Seeing the monarch's face on the coin reminded Canadians of their connection to the Commonwealth. Each new portrait marked a new era for both the monarchy and for Canada. It was like a little timeline you could carry in your pocket, showing the passing of generations. The other side of the penny also had a famous transformation. For many years, it just had the words 1 cent surrounded by maple leaves. But in 1937, a new design appeared. This design was created by an artist named G.E. Kruger Gray. It showed 2 maple leaves on a single twig. This simple, elegant image became iconic. It was the picture most Canadians think of when they remember the penny. This design was so loved that it stayed on the coin for the rest of its life. The twin maple leaves became a symbol of Canada itself, recognized around the world. The metal used to make the penny also changed a lot. At first, it was almost pure copper. This gave it a rich reddish-brown color. But during World War II, copper was needed for the war effort. It was used to make shell casings and other military supplies. So, in 1942, Canada started making pennies out of a different metal called tombak, which looked more brassy. For a short time, they even made pennies out of steel. These steel pennies looked silver and were magnetic. Over the years, the penny became mostly steel, with just a thin layer of copper on top to save money. These changes tell a story about Canada's history. The switch to steel during the war shows a country making sacrifices for a greater cause. The later changes to cheaper metals show the government trying to deal with rising costs. Each version of the penny is a small artifact from a specific time. Coin collectors love finding these different pennies. A 1943 steel penny is a special find. So is a 1936 dot penny, which has a tiny dot on it and is very rare. The penny was not just money. It was a changing piece of Canadian heritage, reflecting the nation's challenges and progress. For generations of Canadians, the penny was a constant part of daily life. It was the coin of childhood. Children would save their pennies in a piggy bank, dreaming of what they could buy. They might collect enough for a piece of candy or a small toy. The phrase, "a penny for your thoughts," was common. People would see a penny on the ground and pick it up for good luck. It was the smallest coin, but it held a special place in people's hearts. It was often the first coin a child learned to recognize. Its value was small, but its presence was large in the culture. In stores across the country, the penny was essential. Prices for goods were not always round numbers. An item might cost $1.99 or $4.53. Without the penny, giving exact change would be impossible. Cash registers had a special compartment just for pennies. Clerks would spend their days counting out these small coins for customers. We all remember the feeling of getting a few pennies back from a purchase. Sometimes they were shiny and new, other times they were dark and worn from being passed through many hands. They connected everyone in the simple act of buying and selling. The penny also played a role in charity. Many stores had a small box or jar near the cash register. It was a place for people to leave their extra pennies. The sign might say, "Leave a penny, take a penny." This was for customers who were a cent or two short. It was a small act of community kindness. Other jars collected pennies for local charities. Over time, these small donations added up to a lot of money. The humble penny helped to build playgrounds, support food banks, and fund community projects. It showed how even the smallest contributions could make a big difference when people worked together. However, as time went on, people's feelings about the penny started to change. It was becoming more of a nuisance than a help. The value of the penny had dropped so much that it could not buy anything on its own. People would end up with pockets and purses full of them. They would store them in big jars at home because they were too much trouble to carry. Some people would even throw them away. The cost of using pennies in terms of time spent counting them was becoming greater than their actual value. The coin that was once so useful was starting to lose its purpose. By the early 2000s, the Canadian penny was in trouble. The cost to make 1 penny was more than 1 cent. In 2012, the government found that it cost 1.6 cents to produce each new penny. This meant that the country was losing millions of dollars every year just by making them. It no longer made economic sense. The Royal Canadian Mint, which makes all of Canada's coins, was producing billions of pennies that were not circulating well. They were ending up in jars and drawers instead of being used in the economy. The government decided it was time to make a change. In the spring of 2012, the Canadian government announced its decision. It would stop making the penny. The final penny was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in Winnipeg on May 4, 2012. This was a historic moment. People who worked at the mint gathered to watch the last 1-cent coin come off the press. It marked the end of a coin that had been part of Canada for over 150 years. The government explained that this would save taxpayers money and was a modern step forward. Many other countries, like Australia and New Zealand, had already gotten rid of their smallest coins. After production stopped, the next step was to take the penny out of circulation. On February 4, 2013, banks stopped giving pennies to businesses and the public. People were encouraged to bring their jars of pennies to banks or to donate them to charities. For cash transactions, stores started rounding the final price to the nearest 5 cents. If a total bill was $5.02, it would be rounded down to $5. If it was $5.03, it would be rounded up to $5.05. For people paying with debit or credit cards, the price remained exact. Many people were worried this would cause prices to go up, but studies showed it had almost no effect. Today, more than a decade after the penny was retired, it is a memory. As of our current date in late 2025, Canadians have fully adapted to life without it. Cash transactions are smooth, and the rounding system works without any problems. The penny now lives on in museums and in the collections of coin enthusiasts. It serves as a reminder of a different time. Its long journey, from a symbol of a new nation to a coin that was no longer needed, tells a fascinating story about Canada's economic history. The little copper coin is gone from our pockets, but it is not forgotten.